Hi, I'm Ned Miller. I'm the current board chair of Chester Eastside, and I'm honored to be with two leaders in our community who are trying to make a difference in the city of Chester. One is Phil Martelli, who's well known to many around the country for his successful coaching career. But in the Philadelphia area, he's known for his commitment to service, to education, to supporting causes of all types, like Chester Eastside. I'm delighted that he's here with us. The other leader is Andy Jacob, who's the executive director of Chester Eastside. And Andy has been leading this organization for the last 2 years and in many ways has added to the programming and the support that Chester Eastside is giving in areas like food insecurity, in education, and in basic services. So I'm delighted to be with both of you. Phil, you're a lifelong resident of Delaware County. You know Chester well. You graduated from Widener University and now are making a difference in the community in part through your great podcast, which I am a huge fan of, Making a
Thank you.
Difference with Phil Martelli. You always ask a question at the end of all your guests. Who's made a difference in your life?
Well, Ned, you cover a lot of area there. Delco. I didn't know Delco was a thing until probably the first Super Bowl for the Eagles, but now it's a big deal. Delaware County, Chester, uh, not only because of my time at Widener, but having had the opportunity to be around the greatest basketball player that I ever had, shared a locker room with, and Jameer Nelson being from Chester, the great Fred Pickett, and all of the people in Chester who have helped shape my basketball career. But my life started, the difference in my life was made by my parents from a very early age, in that they demanded that you respect others. You respect others for who they are and not for what they do or for what they drive or where they went to school or what their W-2 looked like. And the decisions that my parents made, maybe subtly, made such a difference. I grew up directly across the street from Monsignor Bonner High School.
Hmm.
From a very early age in Lansdowne, Delaware County, I wanted to go to St. Joe's Prep because going to St. Joe Prep, I thought, was an avenue to go to St. Joe University, not to play, but to be a fan of the spirit and the camaraderie that I saw when I would go down to the Palestra and watch games. But I was the oldest of seven at the time. We didn't have money for me to go to St. Joe Prep. It was $600, Ned, $600 to go to St. Joe Prep. Walk up the street to Monsignor Bonner, it was zero. And we had more of the capability of zero than we had the capability of $600. We found a family, actually, the Immaculate Heart nuns found a family two streets over who had a scholarship at St. Joe Prep for a St. Philomena graduate to attend St. Joe Prep. And one day I came home from Mass on a Sunday, and my mother said, "Get dressed. You're going around to Mr. McEwen's house, and you're going to ask him if he will allow you to have his family scholarship to go to St. Joe Prep." I got dressed. I walked around Wayne Avenue, 2 blocks over from Clearbrook Avenue. I knocked on the door. Mr. McEwen, who was a judge, not the McEwen that was the DA, it was his father. And the scholarship at St. Joe Prep was for his brother, James, who had passed away at a young age. I knocked on the door. So, and Andy, and you can appreciate this, we now have kids that can't knock on doors because it's
Mhm.
not safe. I was able to knock on that door. I stood at that door and I said to Mr. McEwen, "I would be honored to go to St. Joe's Prep if you would grant me your family scholarship." That sentence changed my life
Mhm.
because Mr. McEwen looked at me and said, "Are you a good student?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Have you taken the test?" I said, "Yes." "Are you admissible to the school?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I'll take care of it. He closed the door. He never invited me into the house. He closed the door and he called admissions. And that $600 tuition scholarship allowed me to go to 69th Street in September, take the L, take the Broad Street subway, walk from Broad and Girard to 16th and Girard. And that opportunity allowed me to become who I am. What I did as a career, who I am, and who made the difference, it absolutely positively started at home with my mother and father. But then it went to, they didn't see themselves as this, but I see them now, community leaders like the McEwen family. And if I had one wish, Ned, for all of us in Delaware County, for everybody that sees this quote unquote infomercial, why can't we all be the McEwen family
Mm.
for Chester East Side? We have the opportunity, and I'm even going to go further and say we have the responsibility to change young people's lives. You can't say no. There is no option here. We can, we will, and we must change lives. Let's start with Chester East Side.
Well, that's a great message, and one that's inspiring to me, because we do all have a responsibility in this. I'd like to ask Andy for a little bit of background on how Chester East Side is making a difference in the community of Chester.
First, I have to let my goosebumps settle down. So, thank you. What a powerful message about the responsibility we all share to do the best by our students. And so, Chester East Side has been on the east side of Chester for 40 years. It's our 40th anniversary, and we were founded by the Presbytery of Philadelphia with the goal of providing needed services and programs to the residents who live here. And so 40 years later, we primarily work in two areas. One is in food security. And as hard as it is, it's only getting more and more difficult to meet the rising demand of the people who come to us. And so that involves food pantry, hot meals program, a community garden, all of which help feed the residents of Chester. And just a quick note, last year we served over 218,000 meals to people here in Chester. The other component is our after-school program, which is coupled with our summer camp, and that's specifically what this appeal is about. And so the after-school program runs all year from September to May. It has students in first through fourth grade, and it's every day of the school year from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and it has literacy training and arts. It has an arts curriculum, so children are exposed to dance and music and drama and visual arts, and we incorporate many volunteers and staff. And the companion is the summer camp. And so the camp runs for the month of July. We expanded so that it has students in grades 1 through 8, and it's every weekday in July. And it includes, it continues with literacy lessons and training. And at one point, we were exposed to a study by a national foundation that found that if students aren't reading by grade level in grade 3, they are 4 times more likely to not graduate. And in Chester, as many as 57% of third graders are not reading at grade level. And so our focus is literacy and working with the young kids, hoping to break that cycle. And so, of the many things we do in the summer, the picture behind me, we do field trips. And so this was a couple years back when our students went to Longwood Gardens. They were marveling at the fountains there. And so the appeal is to help us. It's an expensive endeavor. We have to pay for the transportation and the staff and the meals and the supplies and everything. So this is our annual appeal to support the summer camp and help some of our students continue their literacy work over the summer, but also have a whole lot of fun. So thank you so much. And at the tail end of this video, there will be some notes about how you can reach out if you would like to support the camp. So, Mr. Martelli, so grateful and thankful for your presence and your assistance with this. And may the response be overwhelming.
Thank you, Andy. Phil, any final comments from you?
If I could just look into the camera, Ned, and all of us out there have time, talent, and treasures, but they're not ours. They're to be shared. And you're telling me that a young kid being saved and being supported and making a difference, put your head on the pillow. And every person out there, you're a hero, ordinary person going to extraordinary lengths on a daily basis to help those you may never meet. That's what's going on right here. Chester Eastside, I salute you and I support you.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Andy, for these inspiring messages.